Mel Gibson is 70 years old now. He has decided to talk about Val Kilmer. What he says is not meant to be a surprise, but it is something he has thought about a lot. Mel Gibson was born on January 3, 1956 in Peekskill, New York. His full name is Mel Gerard Gibson. He did not grow up in Hollywood. He was one of 11 children in an Irish Catholic family. His family was very religious. They believed in being disciplined and having strong beliefs. These things were important to them every day. Mel Gibson has had a lot of time to think about his life and the people he knows like Val Kilmer. Mel Gibson was raised in a way that taught him to be very sure about what's right and wrong. He also learned to feel things deeply. This way of thinking and feeling would shape the way Mel Gibson acted in movies and sometimes get him into trouble. When Mel Gibson was a kid, he started to see things as either good or bad with no ground. This simple and strong way of looking at things would show up in Mel Gibson's work as an artist and in his life. In 1968, Gibson was 12 years old when his family moved to Sydney, Australia. They moved because his father won a lawsuit against a railway company, and they wanted to get from the bad things happening in the United States during the Vietnam War. This move was very important for Gibson. Australia was a place for him because it was far from America, and it had a culture that helped him develop his talents naturally. Gibson found that Australia was a place for him to grow and learn. The move to Australia was a change for Gibson and his family. He went to the National Institute of Dramatic Art. This is one of the acting schools in the country. At first, he was not really into acting. Mel Gibson auditioned just because a friend was going to audition. Mel Gibson had a special way about him. He was very open with his emotions, had a lot of energy. People were drawn to him. The teachers and other students saw that Mel Gibson was different. Mel Gibson did things because he felt like it, not because he thought about it a lot. Gibson started working in theater and small movies after he finished school at NIDA. He kept getting better. People started to notice him because he was really good at showing weakness and strength at the same time. Then he got a break in 1979 when he was in George Miller's Mad Max. They did not have a lot of money to make the movie. It became really popular all around the world. This made Gibson a big star in a few days. His role as Max Rokitansky in Max was very important. Max Rokitansky is a character who's very quiet and has a lot of emotional problems. He has to deal with a world that is falling apart. Gibson's performance in Max changed the way people thought about action movies and what they could be like. Gibson's performance as Max Rokitansky was a part of this change. Gibson brought a lot of feeling to the role. He showed sadness and anger without saying much. People watching the movie felt this strength. They sensed that beneath all the violence, Gibson was playing a person who was really hurt inside. Gibson played a wounded human being, and that is what people responded to. The way Gibson played the role made people feel like they were seeing a person, not just someone who was violent. The movie Max was a big hit, and that led to 2 more movies that were just as good: Mad Max 2, The Road Warrior in 1981, and Mad Max Beyond Thunderdome in 1985. These movies helped Mel Gibson become a big star. At the time, Mel Gibson showed that he can play many different kinds of roles. He did not just want to be an action hero. In the movie Gallipoli, which came out in 1981, Mel Gibson played an Australian soldier. He did a job, and it was very sad to watch his character realize that war is not what he thought it would be. Mel Gibson was really good at playing this role. It showed that Mad Max is a great movie. The movie showed that he could be really gentle and hold back when he needed to. This proved that he was an actor and could do a lot more than just play tough roles. He was good at being tough and sensitive at the time, and this is what people remember about his career. The film showed his capacity for tenderness and restraint, and this balance between toughness and sensitivity became a part of what made his career so special. His career as an actor was all about this balance. Hollywood soon took notice of Mel Gibson, and Mel Gibson transitioned to cinema with a lot of success. During the 1980s and 1990s, Mel Gibson became one of the stars in the world. He did a lot of movies like The Year of Living Dangerously, The Bounty, and Tequila Sunrise that showed how well Mel Gibson can act. The Lethal Weapon series made Mel Gibson a big deal in pop culture. In the Lethal Weapon series, Mel Gibson played the role of Martin Riggs, a police officer who's very good at his job, but also has a lot of personal problems and thinks about killing himself sometimes. Mel Gibson made the action comedy movies feel more real and emotional as Martin Riggs in the Lethal Weapon series. Riggs was a guy, but he was also reckless and really hurt inside. Mel Gibson played Riggs in a way that made you feel like you were seeing the deal. People liked that Riggs was honest and raw. They connected with him on a level. This role is still one of the things Mel Gibson has ever done as an actor. Mel Gibson was really famous for acting. Then, he wanted to make movies too. He wanted to make exciting films. In 1995, Mel Gibson starred in Braveheart, a big movie about William Wallace, a Scottish man who fought for freedom. This movie was a hit. It even won 5 Academy Awards, and Mel Gibson won awards for directing and the movie itself. Braveheart showed that Mel Gibson is good at telling stories, making people feel things, and creating strong images. Some people did not like that the movie was not entirely accurate. It still had a big effect on people. Mel Gibson made Braveheart. It is still remembered today because of Mel Gibson's vision. Gibson made movies that were about things that people everywhere care about, like being free and standing up for what you believe in. People around the world loved Gibson movies. This film showed that Gibson was not a famous actor. Gibson was a serious movie maker. Gibson made some bold decisions when it came to the movies he made. The Passion of the Christ is an example of this. This movie came out in 2004. It is a very graphic and controversial look at the last hours of Jesus Christ. The movie was filmed in Aramaic and Latin and Hebrew. A lot of people did not think this movie would do well. It ended up being one of the most popular R-rated movies of all time. The Passion of the Christ started a debate all around the world. Some people loved The Passion of the Christ because it showed how strongly Gibson felt about his beliefs. Other people did not like The Passion of the Christ because it was too violent and they thought it was trying to say something about their beliefs that they did not agree with. No matter how you look at it, this shows that Gibson is always ready to take chances with his art and money to make things that are really important to him. He wants to make things that mean a lot to him, so he is willing to try things and spend a lot of money on them. This is what Gibson does. He takes risks to make his personal visions come true, like Gibson always does with his art and his money. In 2006, Mel Gibson made a movie called Apocalypto. This movie was a project. It was about the Maya civilization. The whole movie was filmed in the Yucatec Maya language. People liked the movie because it was made well. The movie moved fast, and it felt like you were really there. Mel Gibson also made a movie called The Passion of the Christ. Both of these movies show that Mel Gibson is interested in how people survive and have faith when things are really tough. He likes to show what happens when whole civilizations fall apart. These are the things that Mel Gibson likes to make movies about. He likes to make movies that re-extreme and that test people's morals. This is what makes Mel Gibson the kind of director he is. Gibson had a lot of success in his career. His personal life and the way people saw him were very problematic. This all started to happen around the 2000s. There were incidents where Gibson did things that were not okay, like drinking too much and saying things that hurt people. He also got into trouble. All of these things hurt his reputation badly, and he was not wanted in Hollywood anymore. For a time, people did not remember the good things Gibson did because of all the bad things he did. This made people talk about whether we should forgive him, and if we can still like his movies even if we do not like him. Gibson was not making movies during this time, and people did not see him as much. Over time, he started to come into the scene. He began taking on acting roles in movies, like Edge of Darkness and Get the Gringo. This helped him get his name there again. His biggest comeback happened in 2016, when he directed Hacksaw Ridge. The movie Hacksaw Ridge told the story of Desmond Doss. Desmond Doss was a man who did not want to fight. He still helped people as a medic during World War II. He saved a lot of lives without carrying a gun. The movie got a lot of praise, was nominated for many Academy Awards. This included another nomination for Best Director for Mel Gibson. This showed that Mel Gibson was still a director, and people remembered how good he was at making movies. Gibson's personal life was going on at the time as his career. It is interesting that his personal life was a lot like the stories in his movies. Gibson got married to Robin Denise Moore in 1980. They had a Roman Catholic wedding. Gibson and Robin Denise Moore were married for 26 years. During that time, they had 7 kids. People thought they had a normal family life because of their faith, and they kept to themselves. Then Gibson and Robin Denise Moore separated in 2006. They got divorced in 2011. This was the end of a part of Gibson's life. Moore was still a part of Gibson's life. She was the mother of most of his kids. The fact that they had split up did not change this. Moore and Gibson had kids together. That meant she was still important to him. Gibson talks with humility now. He has lived for 70 years. This has given him a point of view. Gibson thinks that time makes our ego smaller. It makes us respect people who always did their best even when things were tough. Gibson sees himself in Kilmer. They both know what it is like to be famous, to be misunderstood, and to be judged by the public. Gibson believes that people will forget the news headlines soon. The work that people do will still be remembered. So Kilmer's legacy is safe because of his work. Gibson thinks about Kilmer and his own life. He knows that time changes everything. The work we do is what really matters. At 70, Mel Gibson's words about Val Kilmer feel less like a confession and more like a reckoning. They stand as a quiet tribute from one complicated artist to another, shaped by admiration, shared struggle, and the understanding that true artistry often comes at a price. In honoring Kilmer, Gibson also reveals something of himself, a man who has lived intensely, stumbled publicly, and arrived at a place where respect, courage, and authenticity matter more than reputation.